Oh, fuck. Okay, I got Facebook up. Are you good over there?
Check, check, check.
Check, check, check. Hey everybody, it's Rob. We're just about to get started with this week's episode. Less than 10 minutes left. While you got a couple of minutes here, why don't you go check out OTheAnthem.com. It's where you can find everything OThe Anthem, including the merch store, the podcast, and all of the videos. Open up a new tab.
Anchor.fm/OThe Anthem is the place where you can get direct links to all the podcatchers you use to listen to our show every week.
Did you know we record every episode live on Facebook? Of course you do. But make sure that you're liking the page and turning on notifications so you get notified when we go live.
We make a ton of video content between the podcast, the short films, Heretics. YouTube.com/OThe Anthem is the place for it all.
And of course you can find me on any social network at Robert N. Sheep.
And me at LegendCB5.
And you can find the podcast at OThe Anthem on all your social networks.
If I knew just offering to not pay taxes was how Baltimore would get fixed. This is Corey, and this is the Anthem podcast.
Podcasting is hard. There's so many buttons. If only we knew somebody who used this time to, nap and play on his phone who would want to produce the show. Anyway, this is Rob. Welcome to episode 375 of the Anthem podcast, coming to you from all over LA. But Corey is there in the hashtag OTA LA studios, high above the 110 freeway in downtown Los Angeles, California. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for listening on your podcast of choice. The easiest way, anchor.fm/Oh the Anthem. And I think it'll be a lot of taxes talk this week. We got two tax-related stories on the docket.
Oh God, the excitement! I just can hear the palpitations of people at home.
I know. People at home going like, "Man, I was waiting for the hot tax talk going on here." I mean, like everyone's trying to get this hot vac summer thing going on, but perhaps hot tax summer is the way we should.
I'm gonna. My hot tax summer is gonna be doing my taxes, so that'll be something I should probably do in the next few months.
It's always wonderful when you can push it off like that.
Well, us W-2 employees, us W-2 employees with massive student loan debt that gets our tax returns confiscated. We try to nail it as much on the head as we can so that, Sally Mae gets less of a check. And also, fuck them. That's why. So my taxes will be done by October 15th. Is that the date? I think. Whatever the date is. It's 6 months after.
Whatever the tax day is.
Yeah, it's 6 months after the tax day. So.
Well, so it's I think it would be November.
Right, because we got a extra month,
because wasn't
right?
tax day May this year?
Yes, it was. So fuck them.
Yeah,
November. Yeah. That's what you get from me.
You can wait patiently for your fuck you money.
Well, I mean, I get no money. Sally Mae can wait patiently for her fuck you money. All $12.
Starting up front, there was a article that was released in ProPublica this past week, which has been gaining a lot of attention.
With some really awesome graphics at the bottom. I didn't realize that until I was scrolling through here right before we started. But
yeah, when you actually looked at the information there.
Well, so we talked about the article, and then I was just like, oh, you mean so like the same shit as always? But then it's got this like really like unique graph at the very bottom that fills as you scroll. So
yeah,
it's very interesting.
I mean, so again, this is not new information to anybody who has been paying attention in the world for the last, I don't know, 100 years or so. But what is different is that somebody had leaked, assumedly from the IRS, somebody had leaked tax returns from 25 of the richest Americans of the last 20 years, essentially. Like I think 2008 was the first.
Wait a second. You mean 24 very rich Americans and a rich South African? Just so we're clear.
Well, I mean, technically, he pays taxes here in America because he has a company here in America, and he lives in America. So,
yeah, but I don't want to skip past
pays
the part
taxes is a relative phrase, but
he is an apartheid supporting South African who happens to live in America. Like Donald Trump is a fascist support. Oh wait, no, he is American.
He's from Queens.
Ted Cruz is a fascist supporting Canadian Cuban who lives in America. That doesn't make him American. He doesn't support American values, and he well, I shouldn't say that about Elon Musk because apartheid is, I mean, that's all American really. So
I don't know how much more American it gets than that.
Anyway,
but basically, they were able to draw from the actual tax returns, which is sort of information that is not known. Like, so for a lot of the years that we've been that people have been sort of speculating as to how much the rich pay in taxes, we've only been able to judge this off of publicly available data. So, for instance, when we talked about Amazon, the corporation not paying any taxes last year, it was because Amazon has to report its tax earnings to its investors, the people who own stock in the company. So that's how we know that information. We know the relative wealth of the top 25 Americans because Forbes does a bang up job of getting all that information and putting it together in their annual list.
I did want to mention to Jeff Bezos, the richest man in the world, who apparently gets a real big chip on his shoulder. that the Amazon information leaked because Corey is a stockholder and he did make it publicly known. He took the report that you sent him and released
I
it to
did
the
it.
public.
It was me.
Just so that's clear.
Yeah, I did it before. What? 10,000 other people probably did the same. Basically, Warren Buffett. Let's make a example of this one, for instance. His wealth growth was $24.3 billion. His income reported was $125 million. His total taxes paid on that was 23.7. So he ended up paying 0.1% in taxes. Now, I know a lot of people out there who make good livings, who make a good amount of money, and are constantly complaining about how much they pay in taxes. I understand where they're coming from. If I was paying nearly 40% in taxes in California, if you're making a lot of money, you could be paying upwards of 50% of your income on taxes. Rob points to himself. Part of the reason why is because again, really, honestly, in the last 50 years more so has this escalated. But over the last 100 years, it's been sort of the steady stream of the richest people in America not paying their fair share. And 0.1% of your wealth growth for Warren Buffett, for example, or 3% in the case of Elon Musk, or Bloomberg with his 1.9 or something like that. It was 1.3. Sorry, I gave him too much credit. These are numbers that are laughable, seeing as, the average everyday American is probably paying somewhere in the area of, 14 to 25% in taxes, depending on what state you live in.
But wait, listen, I not to quote the greatest president we've ever had, but this is a fake news story. It's fake news.
How do you say fake news to this? I'd love to hear your.
I mean, because the way that and this is much like every COVID story that anyone listening to this has ever read about it. People read it and they draw a conclusion from it, but that's not the point of what the thing is. And in the case of COVID, reporters are reading science papers and then drawing a conclusion and then writing a story from which someone is drawing a even more incorrect conclusion. But Warren Buffett paid exactly as much taxes as he should have paid on his income. So did Jeff Bezos. So did Elon Musk. That these guys are paying exactly as much as they need to pay on their taxes.
Right. And, it's not against the law to find every single loophole in the tax system to get as much money as humanly possible.
Jeff Bezos
pay as little taxes as possible. I mean, if you want to pay more in taxes, the government won't stop you.
Of course not.
If there is something that legally allows you to pay less in taxes, then, it's your fault for not taking advantage of it, basically, is the way the tax code is written.
And that's what Warren Buffett says. Warren Buffett agrees that we need to fix the tax code, but he also says, as long as this is the tax code, I'm paying taxes under this tax code. I mean, I'm not going to volunteer more money.
Right. Clearly. And it's fucking ridiculous. I mean, again, it's nothing new. Most normal people realize that these billionaires are not paying their fair share. But
they
if you
are
think about
paying
it like
their
this,
fair share, though. They are paying their fair share because that 1.3, that 3%, that what you're quoting is the tax rate that they should have paid on wealth growth. But
yeah,
wealth growth is not money. Every dollar that you are paid, every dollar you're paid goes in your pocket and you can spend it immediately. Elon Musk was the second richest man in the world, and then the 10th richest man in the world, and then the 87th richest man in the world, and then the third richest man in the world. That's based on value that fluctuates greatly, so we can't tax him on that. But he also can't spend that. That's not capital that he can spend. Every dollar you make is capital you can spend. So, rightly, we are only taxed on the income that we make, that we can spend immediately.
Right. What was the Supreme Court case that basically took away stock value. I can't remember. It was in the article here.
Well, there's a history of cases that just basically said that you can't create that capital gains are not income. You can tax them, but you have to tax them separately, and you have to tax them when they're realized, not just the fact that wealth has been gained on them.
Yeah.
And the reality is that we're making up these lists, and they're incorrect. I mean, listen, Bill Gates is still the richest man in the world because he cashed out a big portion of his Microsoft stock to create a foundation and to, do a bunch of stuff with. So he has cash on hand. That makes him wealthy. But, I mean, realistically, I am more wealthy than Jeff Bezos in real terms.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of he makes $80,000 a year in salary for being Amazon CEO.
Yeah.
Much like
and he's got kids.
Steve Jobs. Oh, not only does he have kids, but he 1 year when he paid $0 in federal income tax, also collected $4,000 for each one of his kids because, according to taxes, he is poor and
what you mean to say
needs
is
to have the.
He paid $0 because he got $4,000 for each of his kids, so that reduces your tax burden down. Now, I paid about $12,000 in taxes that year because I didn't have any kids to knock it down, and I don't have any friends who are willing to give me their kids so I can knock my taxes down.
Yeah, so specifically it says in 2011, a year in which his wealth held roughly steady at $18 billion, Bezos filed a tax return reporting he lost money. His income that year was more than offset by investment losses. More, because according to the tax law, he made so little, he even claimed and received a $4,000 tax credit for his children.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So he again, I would just like to point out to Forbes, I have more wealth than Jeff Bezos.
On paper, like spendable.
On paper, yeah. I mean, like in the bank, yes.
I mean, here's the problem is that unlike you or unlike Bezos has the advantage of being able to show that he has great value in homes across the country, in the stock that he has ownership of, that he is able to get a humongous line of credit from some bank, call it Bank of America, right?
Sure.
And he can draw off that line of credit in order to pay for his life, and he can write off the taxes of the interest of that line of credit against his taxes.
Sure.
As well as whatever losses he can write off to get him down to zero.
Okay.
So
again,
this is a game that, again, nothing new. Everyone should know this, but the fact that I think they said something like in the article, I was trying to find it specifically, but there was $143 billion worth of tax revenue brought in 1 year, federal tax revenue brought in 1 year. And the share of the billionaires, the top 25, was 1.9 billion of that.
Yeah.
So less than a 1% for the top 1%, and not even the top 1%, the top 1% of 1%.
Yeah.
Paid.
So it comes down to this, though. Either you're with capitalism or you're not, because what you're describing is how capitalism works. So either you have to say, okay, this is how capitalism works and I'm going to be fine with it, or you are not and you want to change the system. But you can't do what Corey did so many times in our 1,000-game college basketball series and say things like, you only won because we're playing to 21, or you made more baskets than me, but I mean, I played better. That's not. We're playing a game, and it has rules, and I played by the rules, and I won. That's how it works. Or you can just say the game is fundamentally flawed, and it is only to your advantage, and we need to change the game that we're playing.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. We need to change. We need to change the game. Like,
okay, so you don't want us to be capitalist anymore?
No, I don't think there's. I think that there's a long history of people who had incredible wealth, like mentioned within the piece, Rockefeller, Vanderbilt. These are people who had such wealth that 120 years later we're still talking about their wealth.
Right.
They lived opulent lives. They gave graciously to charities. Their names ring out on buildings all across New York and stuff like that.
Yeah.
They had no problem living a rich person's life based off of the incredible accomplishments that they did in this capitalist system. But at the end of the day, they paid taxes.
Wrong.
There was a way for which they
did. No, they didn't.
They did.
No, so like when you're talking about Rockefeller and Carnegie, you're talking about the pre-1920s where the billionaires were taxed at a relatively the same rate as they are now. And John D. Rockefeller in today's dollars would be like a trillionaire because he was a 100 billionaire in an era when a dollar was worth essentially $100 that it is today. So he was paying not his fair share then. However, he had something called noblesse oblige, which was an American sense that even though we don't have royalty, our robber barons are our royalty. So they need to do things like donate to charity and create colleges and have buildings built and named after them. And what your problem is that you don't see the billionaires of today acting like the billionaires of yesteryear, which they were under no duty to do. And that is a problem. So again, either your problem is with capitalism or it's not, because they're under no duty to do that.
I mean, both Bill Gates and Warren Buffett have said that they are going to donate the vast majority of their fortunes when they die.
And what fucking good does that do?
Well,
Rockefeller did that. Carnegie did that. It didn't do shit all right? Yes, there's a college. Isn't that great? One man got so much wealth together that he controlled 81% of a market that was required for the operation of a country. And at his death, he donated a large chunk of that, about 70%, to multiple charities and foundations. Great. The fuck did he need it for his whole life? Jeff, listen, if I paid you the future Cadillac Baker, if I was to give him $5,000 a day from the day he was born until the day he reached your age, he would not have a fraction of the money that Jeff Bezos has right now. Yeah. That is more money than a person can functionally spend in a lifetime. It is literally just accumulating wealth for the purpose of accumulating wealth. Or to escape the planet, which is, I think, they're all of their final plans. But so either you say we cut that shit off so that we can spend it now on things that we need now, or you just say, oh, well, thank you. Please, sir, can I have another? Or, and I'm fine with this too, Corey. I think this is where you're going, and I support your idea that you're clearly putting forth here. That we kill all the billionaires. That we kill all the billionaires right now, so that we take that function of getting their wealth back into society right now. So when you say we need to make a hit list of Bezos and Gates and Buffett and Musk, I support you wholeheartedly in your plan to assassinate all of these billionaires and get their wealth.
Not my position, but I will say I was thinking about this earlier when I was reading this article.
Imagine like 5 years listening to this shit. I just can't.
I was thinking about this earlier when I was reading the article, and I was like, Rob's thought of guillotines and getting rid of all the billionaires is largely based off of a fundamental understanding of how history goes.
Yes,
where every great society that promotes people of great wealth eventually grows to the point where they become so the lower classes become so tired of it that they go and start killing people because it's just reached that critical mass. This is how history has shown itself to be time and time again, through the Gilded Age and through France and through a lot of examples through history. I would prefer us not to get to the point where we start randomly killing people, and instead get to the point where we figure out a way to honestly be able to tax somebody who has obscene wealth, even if the wealth is on paper. And I realize that would require, like laws that would pretty much an amendment to the Constitution at this point, because you would have to overturn Supreme Court precedent on this. But some sort of manner of paying your fair, because it's just not. I would not. You made the point earlier about I could pay a CPA $300 and they would find $300 worth of savings in the taxes that I pay.
More than that, but yes.
More than that. They would make up their value to me and the money I spend on them, because I would pay that much less in taxes.
Yep.
Based off of their ability to find all the loopholes and get me good. Again, that's all legal. If there's a legal loophole that the CPA knows and it saves me money, I'm not under under requirement to pay the IRS more than what I can find to legally pay them. But at a certain point, if you're just sitting on, if you're sitting on $1 billion worth of wealth and it's just perpetually growing in an account and you're never touching it, there needs to be some sort of means by which that money can be touched, because this system clearly just does not work. And what we've learned, like, again, this is not anything that we didn't know, but what we learned from this situation with the actual financial documents that have been released is that it's way worse than anyone could have just largely speculated.
So
because
I said a minute ago, imagine listening to this in 5 years, but I do want to send a message to that far-flung future, which has found the podcast and is using it as some sort of prophetic. Yes, I am in fact a prophet, and you should worship me thusly. However, my message to you, my overarching message to you from beyond the grave, as Corey and I talked about earlier, 5 years or so away, when I'm just like, what were we talking about? Nope, that's it. Off to the wilderness. Is this. I am walking around with that all the time, just up here. It's just always here, all the time.
Yeah, nobody could hear that. So.
Oh, you couldn't hear that at all?
No, it's too quiet. You whispering.
Yeah, Zoom filters are really good. I'm just walking around with all of that up here all the time. Just, it's always here. It's always just moving around inside of here. And go back. I have given you the secret to everything over the last 7 years. You just need to find it.
I would yes, I would say that is true. But I would also say collectively the two of us have had many conversations over that time where we have illuminated people to the idea that we know better than them, because it's not too hard to just read history books and realize how things are going to go. Like, the problem is that most people just, like, as soon as some part of history that doesn't apply to them personally is introduced to them, they say, oh, that doesn't apply to me, and they ignore it, even though if you really want to be a student of history and know how things are going to happen, you have to sort of collect as much as you possibly can, because you never, much like Rob walking around with it all the time, you never know when you're going to have to drag that piece of information out,
Unless it's a once-in-a-lifetime pandemic for an upper respiratory type infection, because that's never happened before. And why would we need to, lean on the lessons of history?
Yeah, why even concern ourselves with something that happened 100 years ago?
Yes.
It's not like it'll happen again.
Yes.
Moving on though, back to
eat the rich.
Back
yes,
to our.
You're right. Yes, we should kill and eat the rich, and then split up all their stuff amongst all of us.
Back to our old home. I figured maybe we'd meander on down to.
Oh wait, shit! I gotta get it queued up. Hang on.
I was trying to give you a little heads up on that. Maybe we go on down to the Baltimore corner.
Where you get the straight dope.
Indeed. So, along the tax conversation, another tax conversation, the business owners of Fells Point have had it up to here with the city and are saying, if you don't do what you're supposed to be doing, which is controlling the crime and getting rid of the criminals and locking them up for the crimes they commit, then we're just not going to pay taxes, because fuck it. if you're not going to do your job with the money we spend, then we're just not going to give you the money anymore, because clearly what difference does it make? To which
Guys.
suddenly the city hall just sprung into action, and they had a Zoom for residents of Fells Point, which a lot of people showed up to, which apparently they were not prepared for. The Baltimore City Police have been having basically a siege on Fells Point for the last week here, and it's interesting, given its prominent location within the White L, that this little uprising of the Fells Point Business Association is seeming to have some impact on moving the city forward a little bit, even though, as me and Rob will tell you, there's very little the Baltimore Police Department can do about the crime unless they decide to, stop being representatives of the city of Baltimore, because they are causing a lot of the crime themselves. So
yeah, and Corey, remind the folks at home, what's my plan on home ownership for the future?
Not to buy a home.
And why is that?
Because you think that it's a stupid investment.
Yeah, and also you never.
Even though literally almost every financial expert will disagree with you on that.
Yes, they will. And I think that it's a stupid investment because you can invest for years and then be ready to sell your house, and then 2008 happens, and you're like, "Fuck! Well, okay, I lost half the value of my house, so I'm gonna hold it because it'll come back." And then 4 years later, you're like, "It's finally back. I'm ready to sell." And then 2012 happens, and then it loses half its value, and you have to wait to get your value back up. And 6 years later, it's still not back up. But more importantly, it's because of this. You never actually own that home. You think you do. You stop making payments to the bank, but you never really own it. And why is that?
Because you always pay taxes on it.
Because you always pay taxes. What happens if you don't pay taxes on it?
Then the city seizes it.
So here is my suggestion.
Rather, the city will put a lien on you, and then
a private citizen, such as
there will be some sort of process that's involved in trying to get the lien solved. But if the lien is not eventually worked out in some sort of way, then
in 90
they will,
days, yes,
and they will steal your property from you.
They will auction it for the cost of the lien plus $1. That's where the starting bid is. So then someone like me who has $6,000 can come in and get your building that is worth $400,000 and take it from you, including the improvements, and boot you out. And have all of the authority of the state and the city and the county behind me to do it.
It goes beyond that if you're a Baltimore City resident, because you could just be living your day-to-day life, enjoying yourself, and paying your property taxes because you realize it's important for, being a resident of the city and all. Right. You have to pay your taxes. And then one week you walk to the mailbox and you get your water bill and holy shit, it's $15,000. How the hell did that happen? And then you say, oh, it's okay. It's not going to be a problem. I'll just call the water department and I'll get this all sussed out. And then you call the water department and they say, yeah, everything's working great on our end. You owe us $15,000. And then you say, how much does water cost? Why is this how much water does SeaWorld use $50,000 or $15,000 of water in a month? And they say, I don't know how it happened, but you did it.
I don't know how it happened, but if they were in Baltimore, they would have. Yes.
It would be more. It would be way more.
Wait, no. You and I both know that's not true. It would be way less, and they would never pay it.
They would just argue that they're not going to pay it until the crime goes down, and then they never have to pay it.
Well, no, and that's I encourage the Fells Point Business Association to stand firm, don't pay taxes. I also encourage the Baltimore City Police to say, you know what? Fuck them. And then 6 months from now, here's what I suggest, Corey. You and
we buy Max's Tap House.
We buy Max's Tap House. And I don't even need the liquor license because I'm not going to open it because I don't know if this is new to people at home, but I hate people just generally. So what I'd like to do is to open up the windows because you know how they have the slide windows that you can see everything out on the street.
Yeah.
And I would like to turn on music really loud and then drink at my bar by myself while people walk by, and then just be like, "Fuck all of you! It's my
Just
bar."
make it a members only bar with a membership of 1.
Absolutely. And then somebody would be like, "But what are you going to do about the taxes next year?" And I'd be like, "Listen, this schmuck didn't pay $6,000, and I got his building. I'll figure out the $6,000 problem. One party once a year, like how when you're broke, how you pay your rent, where it's like, all right, we're gonna have a party on the 30th. $5 gets you a red Solo cup and all you can drink, and then you pay your rent. Or is that just movies? I don't know.
It reminds me of that episode of South Park where Cartman bought the amusement park.
Yeah.
Because he was tired of all the other kids being in the amusement park.
I don't want to line. I just want to go straight to the front.
And then one of the rides broke, and he realized he needed to hire somebody to fix the machines. And to allow him to do that, he had to let like 5 kids in. And it ruined his day a little bit because all the kids wanted to ride the same ride he did.
Mm-hmm.
And then kids would start breaking in, and he needed to hire security. And then he needed to hire a ticket taker, and then he needed to hire people to take care of the garbage. And as things added up, his personal amusement park just for him became just like the amusement park before with all the people.
Here's the difference. I have kept a 25,000 square foot facility up and running nearly through my own blood, sweat, and tears. So I could run a 400 square foot bar and keep that motherfucker running like a top all the time. I don't need from anybody.
More than 400 square feet, but yes.
Oh, I guess Max's. Yes, I'm thinking about most of the bars that are like
just
a hallway.
Closet. Yeah. Glorified closet.
Also, Max's, I need one fridge and one working sink and a toilet, but they don't all have to work at once. If I can just keep one working at a time, and or if they're all broken, moderate my drinking. That's just, it's about levels. It's about keeping the levels.
I used to think about how Fells Point is well known for being like one of the highest concentrations of bars within per block. There's more bars in Fells Point than almost anywhere in the country, except for I think Bourbon Street is the only place that beat it.
Also, the urine content of the bricks outside the bar only beat by Bourbon Street in that as well.
But what you forget is you see like big bars every once in a while. You see the Maxes and the Green Turtles, which is not around anymore, by the way.
Oh.
And then you see the little tiny literally shoe closet sized bars. Like there was that one, oh my god, it was like not Bar Baltimore because that was a club. But there's a bar in Fells Point that literally just says bar on the outside and it's nothing else.
That's the one. That's the one that my friend's a manager of, and it's like 12 feet wide and like 100 feet deep, and it's like 12 feet wide.
Yeah, it's like the smallest bar I've ever seen.
Yes, that's the one we went to. We went in that bar because she's the manager. They have a back patio now, by the way, because
do they?
A year closed. Basically, what they did is clean out the yard that's in the back of the building and put a patio section up. So,
nice.
It's a very nice space. And nothing against it. That's a city bar, and people coming from Denton are like, the fuck. But then people coming from New York are like, this place is spacious. I have never. It's amazing. You could pass two aside without turning between the bar and the wall. It's great. 3 bathrooms. You mean 3?
You mean to tell me that a beer isn't $18 here? This utopia.
It's a land of pleasant living. That's why they call it that. Yeah.
But despite all the police presence, somehow there was a shots fired incident this weekend in Baltimore, in the Fells Point area, and starting July 1st, if you don't get Brandon Scott to do something about it, the Baltimore police radio will become encrypted, and we'll never hear about it again. No, the crime will get instantly better because you'll just never hear about the crime coming out because all the people who report on the crime will not be listening to the police radio anymore. And that's it. Surprise. The Baltimore Police Department, one of the most corrupt public institutions I have ever seen in my entire life, is looking to have their police radio encrypted, and it starts half a month from now. This is could you just picture in your mind, listener at home, picture in your mind, Charlie